Are you going to sue Blake Lively too?
Into oblivion, Megan. Wait till you see this lawsuit. It's all going to be based on evidence. It's not going to be just a lawsuit. It's going to be the kind of lawsuit that is full of evidence, admissions, documents, which prove exactly what she did, because actually Blake Lively's publicist, Leslie Sloan, was planting stories negative to Justin. And all Justin wanted to do, and it's all through the text messages. If the New York Times apparently reviewed 1,000 or more pages of text messages, they would have seen it. Justin never wanted to hurt her, never wanted to be negative to her. He wanted to protect the film. He wanted to protect himself, and he wanted to protect her from making negative allegations about him that were made up and that are proven in this case. That
Blake Lively was completely caught off guard on live television when Bryan Freedman dropped a comment that left her momentarily speechless. It wasn't one of those moments where her signature charm and quick wit could effortlessly smooth things over. Instead, his unexpected remark hung in the air, turning an ordinary exchange into a surreal and unforgettable pause.
New York Times, her publicist worked directly with the New York Times. They shared illegally obtained text messages. They shared those together. They concocted a complaint that they filed with the Civil Rights Division. They omitted texts that would have provided context, texts that were in the exact same string that would have provided context of what was really going on. And in fact, they actually removed emojis from texts that show that there was satire and there was joking around by the PR crisis agents. I mean, the PR crisis agent.
Observers noticed that her usual sparkle dimmed for a moment, replaced by a mix of disbelief and ironic amusement. In a world where every remark is analyzed and every reaction dissected, her brief silence spoke louder than any perfectly crafted comeback. As the cameras rolled and the live audience hung on to every second, it became clear that even the ever-poised Blake Lively wasn't immune to the unpredictable twists of live television. Who would have thought that a single comment could render a Hollywood icon, if only for a moment, completely speechless?
Okay, so this is an excerpt from my new favorite book, which is the website that Justin Baldoni published, all about his correspondence with Blake Lively. And this is one of my favorite excerpts with my new favorite Game of Thrones character, Blake Lively. Are you ready for it? And him serving it back to her is just as important. You don't usually see both the man and the woman with such agency and humor. Anyway, I can act it out for you next week to make sure it comes through. Or I can send it now. Let me know what you prefer. XX. To which Justin Baldoni responded, sorry, I was just crying my eyes out as kids and family just left for another 5 weeks and it was a shit show. Heart emoji, heart emoji, heart emoji.
What began as a routine live broadcast quickly took an unexpected turn. The stage was set, but Bryan Freedman, known for his offhand remarks and talent for stirring the pot, decided this was his moment to steal the spotlight. With a grin that all but promised a bombshell, he leaned into the microphone and delivered a comment as audacious as it was unfiltered. In a moment where spontaneity collided head-on with celebrity, his words cut through the studio's ambient chatter like a knife through butter, leaving no room for pretense. With his signature nonchalance, he touched on a subject that struck uncomfortably close to home for Blake, a topic often whispered about behind closed doors, but never so boldly dragged into the unrelenting glare of live television.
Bryan Freedman, Justin Baldoni's attorney, has just shot back at Blake Lively's motion to dismiss. Blake is abusing the legal system. 3 exclamation points. Bryan Freedman tells TMZ Miss Lively's recent motion to dismiss herself from the self-concocted disaster.
The comment was an unexpected twist in a conversation that, until then, had carried the polished ease of polite banter. On paper, Bryan's remark might have seemed insignificant, but his devilishly smug tone and delightfully irreverent delivery transformed it into something far more loaded. In that instant, as his words echoed through the studio, the camera found Blake Lively, and her reaction was immediate and unmistakable. Her expression seemed to say, "Really? You can't be serious." Her eyes widened just enough to reveal that she wasn't merely processing what had been said, she was actively resisting the urge to fire back with a razor-sharp retort. For a brief moment, the glitzy Hollywood facade cracked, revealing something raw and unfiltered, a reaction
She
so
bullied her
genuine that
way
even the
through the
most
process
seasoned star
to
couldn't
take
have
over
seen
the
it
movie
coming.
and used her PR people to try and destroy Justin. There's a number of different defendants here. Stephanie Jones will be all over this complaint. That is the PR agent who was supposed to be working for Justin Baldoni. Leslie Sloan, who's another PR agent who will be part of this lawsuit. That was Blake Lively's. Blake Lively will be sued, and we're carefully considering other people that will be sued also. Bryan Reynolds, for sure.
Bryan, reveling in the power of his own spontaneity, pressed on, his every word dripping with a self-assuredness that made it impossible to ignore. What had started as lighthearted banter quickly shifted, the studio's atmosphere crackling with a charged, almost electric tension. The audience, a mix of industry insiders and die-hard fans, sat on the edge of their seats, each wondering how this unscripted moment would unfold. Some smirked at the irony of it all. After all, it wasn't every day that a Hollywood darling like Blake Lively was left momentarily speechless by an offhand remark. Others, however, watched with bated breath, fully aware that this was the kind of moment destined to be dissected by tabloids, social media, and late-night comedians for weeks to come.
Bryan Freedman, Justin Baldoni's attorney, has just shot back at Blake Lively's motion to dismiss. Blake is abusing the legal system. 3 exclamation points. Bryan Freedman tells TMZ Miss Lively's recent motion to dismiss herself from the self-concocted disaster she initiated is one of the most abhorrent examples of abusing our legal system. Freedman says stringent rules are put into place to protect the innocent and allow individuals to rightfully defend themselves, while noting laws are not meant to be twisted and curated by privileged elites to fit their own personal agenda. In his statement to TMZ, Freedman reiterated, as we said yesterday in response to Mr. Reynolds' same cowardly measures, we will continue to hold Miss Lively accountable for her actions of pure malice, which include falsely accusing my clients of harassment and retaliation. Freedman summed it up by saying Blake's fantastical claims will be swiftly debunked as discovery moves forward, easily disproved with actual evidentiary proof.
Behind the scenes, the production team scrambled to maintain a sense of control. Directors exchanged knowing glances while producers whispered hurried instructions into earpieces, all acutely aware that they were witnessing a live television moment destined for the history books. Blake's initial shock was fleeting, quickly replaced by a practiced smile, a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. It was the kind of expression that silently conveyed, "I see what you did there, and I'm not entirely amused." If one could eavesdrop on her internal, it might have been a rapid-fire reel of sarcastic retorts and razor-sharp comebacks, each crafted to shift the uncomfortable spotlight away from her. But in that instant, the art of the perfect reply was lost, replaced instead by a silence that said more than words ever could.
Baldoni's the bad guy. And just to lay it out for the audience in a little bit more detail, what she's claiming is that even though she was a much bigger star than Justin Baldoni, who I never heard of before this lawsuit, she's the much bigger star, and she's married to an even bigger star than she is, Ryan Reynolds, that she came in and onto this project and started to get harassed and mistreated by Justin and some others. And that when she then demanded that all of her concerns be rectified, that he did it, but that he was basically lying in wait for when the film would get released in case she went public with what happened, that he and his PR team determined to bury her, to ruin her, and that this wave of bad press we did see about Blake Lively when the film came out this past summer was not organic. It was totally orchestrated by Justin and his team, and they've gotten their hands on a bunch of texts.
The conversation drifted on, as if the moment had been nothing more than a minor hiccup in an otherwise seamless exchange. Bryan, ever the provocateur, continued to weave in remarks that built upon his initial jab, each one more pointed than the last. His tone remained light, casual, just friendly banter, or so it seemed. But beneath the surface, there was a distinct edge to his words, a deliberate attempt to unsettle the carefully curated public image of one of Hollywood's most beloved figures. Blake's responses, when they came, were measured and composed, revealing nothing of the internal storm his comment had likely stirred. Instead, she delivered the kind of polished, almost scripted retorts that celebrities perfect for moments like these, when the glare of live television leaves no room for a misstep.
Tony's the bad guy. And just to lay it out for the audience in a little bit more detail, what she's claiming is that even though she was a much bigger star than Justin Baldoni, who I never heard of before this lawsuit, she's the much bigger star, and she's married to an even bigger star than she is, Ryan Reynolds, that she came in and onto this project and started to get harassed and mistreated by Justin and some others. And that when she then demanded that all of her concerns be rectified, that he did it, but that he was basically lying in wait for when the film would get released in case she went public with what happened, that he and his PR team determined to bury her, to ruin her, and that this wave of bad press we did see about Blake Lively when the film came out this past summer was not organic. It was totally orchestrated by Justin and his team, and they've gotten their hands on a bunch of texts.
As the segment unfolded, the narrative seemed to take on a life of its own. Observers couldn't help but notice the subtle shifts in energy each time Bryan's words cut through the studio. A collective intake of breath, a pause in laughter, a shared realization that they were witnessing something rare and unscripted. It wasn't just the remark itself that had everyone buzzing. It was the way it was delivered. In a medium where every word is scrutinized and every expression magnified, even the smallest misstep can become a moment of cultural significance. And on this particular day, that misstep belonged to Bryan Freedman, a brazen comment, a perfectly timed provocation that left Blake momentarily disarmed.
Writes, I can send you my pass at the roof, or just read with you when we get together next week. Let me know what you prefer, smiley face. If you knew me in person longer, you'd have a sense of just how flirty and yummy the ball busting would play. It's my love language, spicy and playfully bold, never with teeth.
Despite the lingering undercurrent of tension, the show pressed forward, adhering to its meticulously planned segments. The host, ever the consummate professional, worked to steer the conversation away from the incident, injecting humor and lighthearted commentary in a valiant effort to restore balance. But the damage had already been done. The studio audience, now abuzz with hushed whispers and knowing glances, was keenly aware of the unspoken drama that had just unfolded. Meanwhile, social media erupted in real time, as fans and critics alike flooded the internet with sardonic takes on the moment. Tweets and posts dissected the exchange with a mix of amusement, outrage, and sheer disbelief. Within minutes, memes were born, immortalizing the exact instant when a single remark transformed an otherwise ordinary broadcast into an unintentional spectacle of brilliance.
Baldoni, because he treated me well and did nothing wrong, and I allowed him to sit in a basement with his family because I was starstruck by Hugh Jackman.
Yeah, that Blake Lively was the aggressor in this now epic showdown. Was it right after was it when Baldoni dropped the countersuit? Was it when Bryan Freedman put up the website with the 170 pages and all the texts? Or was it right away when the Times wrote?
Right away. I've always had an intuition about her, and I've always had an intuition about Taylor Swift and like the branding of the nice girl stuff. And something just didn't. I went through Justin Baldoni's Instagram, and he just seemed like a puppy. And I read it just didn't add up to me that this guy was secretly just dying to talk about pornography all the time and talk about his porn addiction and wanted her to look at pornography. I'm going, this is not the Instagram feed I'm looking through. And I went back.
In the days that followed, the incident became fuel for endless discussion. Talk shows, podcasts, and online forums dissected every nuance of the exchange, analyzing the interplay between Bryan's bold remark and Blake's unexpected silence. Debates erupted over whether the comment was a calculated move or simply an offhand slip, an unfiltered moment of candor in an industry where every word is meticulously curated. Some argued that Bryan's remark was a deliberate provocation, an attempt to shatter the polished facade of celebrity culture and reveal the vulnerabilities beneath. Others insisted it was nothing more than a case of miscommunication, exaggerated, by an audience always hungry for scandal. No matter how it was interpreted, one thing was undeniable. The moment had etched itself into the landscape of live television, leaving an impact that wouldn't soon be forgotten.
So it was monstrous what she did, and she's got to pay for it.
As the weeks passed, industry insiders speculated on the ripple effects of the incident. Some suggested it might prompt publicists to rethink their approach to media training, doubling down on the need for rapid-fire comebacks and unwavering composure. Others mused that it could inspire a new era of on-air spontaneity, where hosts and guests alike feel emboldened to break away from the script. Meanwhile, late-night hosts reveled in the material, seamlessly weaving the moment into their monologues, with a sharp mix of sarcasm and schadenfreude. With each retelling, the incident only grew in mystique, evolving from a fleeting exchange into a cultural touchstone, one that perfectly encapsulated the delicious unpredictability of live television.
I think Ryan Reynolds has a few secrets in the closet, too, that they don't want people to be taking a look at, and it's going to destroy these people. That's why they wanted this attorney's eyes only privilege. And basically, we can say anything. The public can't see it, just the attorneys. It was kind of a radical thing to want, and they were arguing that, careers could be ruined. Well, what could be ruined? You might be a little embarrassed, but to ruin a career, there has to be some level of fraud in terms of how you're presenting yourself to the public and who you are in private. And so that kind of a desperate sort of a pleading, which was to do something that was abnormal and file for this attorney eyes only, which they didn't give them. He kind of half waited and said according to medical records, which is self-explanatory. But that lets me know that they're scared and they're not going to admit that until they lose the dismissals. And then I think they're going to want to settle.
The episode became a case study in the delicate dance between candor and decorum. Bryan Freedman's remark, delivered with a smirk and a wink, did more than just disrupt the flow of conversation. It momentarily fractured the carefully curated image of one of Hollywood's most beloved stars. And while Blake Lively's silence lasted only a heartbeat, its impact echoed far beyond that fleeting pause. For those who witnessed it, the moment was a perfect snapshot of live television's unpredictability, a reminder that beneath every polished exterior lies the potential for unscripted brilliance, or at the very least, a sharp twist of irony.